What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This week we're doing a video on our Chinese water dragons or bearded dragons, a better pet. I'm Andrew Edwards. I've spent most of my life learning about animals, and now I'm sharing those experiences with you. Welcome to Andrew's Reptile Arc. I get this question all the time. I want a more impressive lizard than a bearded dragon, but nothing that gets too huge. I think Chinese water dragons are a good middle ground between a medium lizard and a small lizard. So we'll cover them first because that's probably why you clicked on this video. So this is a really big kind of head-to-head, but we're kind of covering most topics that you'll care about, not their diet or anything like that, although they're very similar. We're not really covering that. We're going to be talking about more major things. In the first one we're covering is definitely size enclosure. Now, bearded dragons can live in bigger enclosures, but most of the time you're probably going to keep them in around a 40-gallon enclosure, so nothing too huge. This enclosure for Rex behind me, this is our adult male. He lives in a 6-foot long, 5-foot tall, and 27-inch deep enclosure. He just jumped right to the branch back there. So they require huge enclosures, and water dragons do grow to about 3 feet in length. Now he's a bit smaller because he's kind of a weird boy and he bites part of his tail off. I don't know why he does that. It's very strange, but can you jump? Oh, that's wild. That is a topic that we were covering. Water dragons are very active lizards, so they do require lots of space. So this enclosure is definitely pretty much the minimum size you want to give them. You don't want to give them anything too small because they need that room to climb, swim, and explore because you want their mind constantly working. Coming back to that other topic really quickly, water dragons do get bigger than bearded dragons. So bigger lizard equals bigger enclosure. There's no really way around that. Now, there are a few pros when it comes to bearded dragons, like Shadow here. She is a zero morph, so she doesn't have much color. She doesn't look like your normal bearded dragon, and that is really one of the pros when it comes to bearded dragons. You can get them in a wide variety of different shades, colors, patterns even, like back colors. She actually has no scales on her back, or very little spikes on her back, so she's called a leatherback, which is even more rare than your standard bearded dragon that has lots of scales. So if you want one that's not normally found in pet stores, these guys definitely have a lot more of these colors, so gives you some variety as opposed to water dragons. They only really come in the one color, and that's green. Now, another pro, and a lot of you are probably expecting this topic, these guys are very easy to tame. They're pretty much the #1 reptile you can buy. They're more impressive than leopard geckos, and they're very popular in the pet trade. You're going to find them pretty much everywhere, and look at that. They could just sit on you, and that's it. They're perfectly happy watching TV with you, very tameable or handleable as we call it on this channel. So that's definitely a pro when it comes to bearded dragons. As we flip-flop between these two, it might get very confusing. But another thing, these guys are definitely cheaper when it comes to buying them, housing them, caring for them, pretty much everything. These guys are a lot cheaper. You can house an adult in a 40-gallon tank or something a little bit bigger if you want, but minimum 40-gallon tank. This one behind me for a water dragon is a lot bigger, like we just said, so you're going to need something custom made. With these guys, you can custom make, but you can also buy them too. Now, while water dragons are still tameable, they require a little bit more time. They're not going to be friendly right off the bat. Maybe some of them would be, but when it comes to this, you're going to need a little bit more patience. Now, I would argue that Rex is about as tame as Shadow over there, but it took a lot longer, and you're going to have a little bit more time bonding with this animal. It doesn't happen right off the bat. Not going to happen like that. So if you want a lizard that you're going to form a bond with over time, want something that's a bit more impressive when it comes to size, look how majestic that looks. Looks like a mini iguana almost. It's incredible. But they don't have that kind of iguana temper. Some of them get really aggressive. Water dragons are pretty much always friendly. Don't really bite that much, or ever. I don't think he's ever bitten me. And they grow to an impressive size. They have that tail. You can see he's bit off part of his tail, but they have that tail pattern that's nice and sectioned just like an iguana. Have the same colors. So if you want an iguana but don't want to deal with the size or temperament, this is definitely the reptile for you. Now, no animal comes without cons. I didn't really write this down in my whole description of this video. Another one, they do have sharp claws. Arboreal lizards have some of the sharpest claws when it comes to the reptile world. These guys need them to climb. I don't know if I could zoom in on those claws, but they're pretty sharp. So scratches, ow, ow, definitely something you're gonna have to deal with because they grip and they grip hard. The second con, the expense. These guys require a lot more when it comes to enclosure because you have to custom make these enclosures. They really don't understand glass like bearded dragons do or most other lizards do. So you're gonna have to custom make something out of PVC or wood, or I guess you could buy something out of PVC, but you need something large. Another thing, high humidity. These guys come from Asia in the rainforest. Bearded dragons, they come from the desert, don't need as high humidity. Some might argue with that, but they don't. These guys, near 80% humidity. So you definitely need a humidifier, a mister, fogger, anything like that. But you need something to keep that humidity up. These guys can have respiratory issues without it, and you can't really get around not having that humidity. And the last one that I want to cover is no glass, but we kind of already went over that. Big enclosures, no glass, you'll be fine. These guys will live a long, happy life, and they won't be surfing on the glass all the time. They scratch their nose. It's terrible. You see some pictures. Even on him, he has some, because before I got him, he did have some glass or nose rub from the glass. Finally, when it comes to cons with bearded dragons, they're more basic. A lot of people have them. Not a lot of people have water dragons as pets. So they're not extremely popular when it comes to water dragons. These guys, pretty much every household that owns reptiles will own a bearded dragon. It's not very uncommon to find in the pet industry. You can find them at pretty much any pet store. They breed them themselves. When it comes to specialty morphs, if I could call them that, you don't find them in everyday pet stores, but you can still find them at reptile expos or breeders. But they're not as impressive looking. They don't get as big. They don't look as majestic, in my opinion, either. It's kind of, I don't know, they're kind of your beginner reptile. You see them all the time. You see them in zoos, and not as impressive. Neither are their enclosures. They don't get as big, although you could put them in a larger enclosure. They might not use it all. So this big enclosure, nice and impressive. Every time somebody comes here, they marvel at how big the enclosures are. Oh, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? I don't know what's happening. She never moves this much. Oh, what a catch. Professional baseball in my future right there. Okay, so the next topic, although she just kind of went against this issue, is they're not very active as adults. They kind of go into a lazy period as adults and don't move around that much. With water dragons, on the other hand, they're constantly moving. Well, maybe not constantly, but they do move a lot more than a bearded dragon. You can see her just tracking my fingers here. Boop. If you want something that is more lazy when it comes to an adult, maybe a bearded dragon is more suited for you, or if you have a lack of space. That's another thing with the Chinese water dragons, or water dragons in general. They need a lot more space. So if you're in an apartment, or a small house, or somewhere you can't dedicate a lot of area to, bearded dragons are probably more for you. So this video is really not complete without an Australian water dragon. This is Arrow right here. You guys could probably see her better. Australian water dragons are more closely related to Chinese water dragons behind me with Rex. but they actually live closer geographically to bearded dragons. Now, Australian water dragons are awesome. They look a lot cooler, they look a lot more prehistoric in my mind, but they're just as active, just as personable as a Chinese water dragon, but are a lot more expensive just because they come from Australia, a lot more rare, so their price tag kind of goes along with that. So if you want one of these instead of these, you can get that. So I guess they kind of, if you consider that a morph, they're not, but if you want something that looks like this, but acts like this and is the same size, you can get that. So he's kind of done for the video, I guess. But they get around the same size, have the same personality. This video could not be complete without adding an Australian water dragon into the mix so that you guys could see the difference. So as a conclusion, in general, it's really your decision. If you want something that is more manageable in size and a little bit more handleable when it comes to training and temperament, definitely go with the bearded dragon. Or if you want something big, impressive, iguana-like, eats a bunch of crickets, crazy personality, well, not crazy, but a little bit harder to tame, but still tameable, then definitely get a Chinese water dragon. They're awesome pets. I've had them for years, and definitely more active than your bearded dragons. I would probably say get a Chinese water dragon, Australian water dragon. As you can see, they really don't stop moving. Try to get one of these guys. They're a little bit more rare and hard to find now, but definitely worth every dollar. Just make sure you set them up right, and they're probably one of the best pet reptiles to own. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Let me know which one you're getting. You can see them side by side right here. Boom. Let me know which one you want to get. And always check out our channels on Instagram and TikTok, and I will see you guys in the next video. See ya.